The plasma round punched through the bulkhead 3 inches from Commander Marcus Cole's head, showering him with molten metal fragments. He didn't flinch. After 18 months in the Periphery Wars, flinching was a luxury reserved for the living. Hull breach on Deck 7. We're venting atmosphere. Marcus grabbed the emergency seal kit and sprinted down the corridor, his magnetic boots clanging against the deck plates. The SV Defiant was dying around him. Loss of her 3rd engine, half her crew dead or wounded, and an enemy dreadnought closing for the kill. But the enemy wasn't the Hegemony. Not this time. The Vaelorian Imperial fleet had arrived in the Kepler system 6 hours ago, their massive warships emerging from fold space like predators scenting blood. They'd come hunting Hegemony supply lines, only to find a single human destroyer caught in the crossfire. Commander Cole to the bridge. Immediately. He sealed the breach with practiced efficiency and made his way forward, stepping over bodies and debris. The bridge was a charnel house. Captain Torres slumped dead in his chair, Executive Officer Chen bleeding out on the deck, and only a handful of crew still functional. "Sir," Ensign Park's voice cracked. "The Vaelorian flagship is hailing us." Marcus took the captain's chair. It was still warm. "Put them through." The view screen flickered to life, and Marcus found himself staring at the most striking alien he'd ever seen. Admiral Kira'veth Sorenai of the Vaelorian Imperial Navy stood on her bridge, like a statue carved from war itself. Her skin was pale blue, almost luminescent, with intricate silver markings tracing her cheekbones and temples. Her eyes were solid gold, without pupil or iris, and they regarded Marcus with the cold contempt of a predator examining prey. "Human vessel." Her voice was melodic but sharp, like a blade wrapped in silk. "You have violated Vaelorian territorial claims. Your species has no treaty rights in this sector. With respect, Admiral, we were here first. The Hegemony ambushed us. We're not your enemy." Those golden eyes narrowed. "You are vermin. Your species crawled out of your mudball planet barely 2 centuries ago. You have no place among the stars. And yet here we are." Admiral Sorenai's lips curled into something between a smile and a snarl. Defiant. How appropriately named for a doomed ship. She leaned forward, her silver-clad form filling the screen. "I am Kira'veth Sorenai, Blade of the Empress, victor of 37 campaigns. I have crushed rebellions, shattered armadas, and brought entire civilizations to heel." She paused, letting the weight of her words settle. "The alien admiral swore to hang me. Now she sails under my flag," Marcus would later write in his log. But in that moment, all he heard was her next sentence. "When I take your ship, human, I will hang you from your own mast as a message to your pathetic species. Surrender now, and I may grant your crew quick deaths." Marcus felt the eyes of his surviving crew on him. 12 people. 12 lives, depending on his next words. "Admiral Sorenai," he said slowly, "I've got a counteroffer. You've got 3 Hegemony hunter-killer packs closing on your position from the asteroid field. Your sensors can't see them because they're running cold, but I've been tracking their neutrino signatures for the last hour." The Admiral's expression flickered. Just for a moment. "You lie. Check bearing 275, elevation -12, then bearing 183, elevation +6, and bearing 090, dead level." Marcus leaned back. 12 ships total. Enough to cripple your fleet before you can spin up your fold drives. Silence stretched between them. On the Vaelorian bridge, Marcus could see officers checking their instruments, their body language shifting from contempt to concern. "How do you know this?" Sorenai demanded. "Because humans are paranoid, Admiral. We assume everything is trying to kill us. Usually, we're right." The Admiral's golden eyes bore into him through the screen. "Even if this is true, why tell me? We are enemies. Because the Hegemony killed half my crew today. And because right now, you need me more than you need to hang me." Admiral Sorenai was silent for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice had lost some of its edge. "You have 10 minutes to prove your worth, human. If you are lying, I will not simply hang you. I will make you watch your crew die first." The screen went dark. Ensign Park let out a shaky breath. "Sir, what do we do?" Marcus was already pulling up tactical displays. "We do what humans do best, Ensign. We survive." The Vaelorian shuttle bay was immaculate. Polished metal floors, precisely aligned equipment, and guards who stood like statues in their ceremonial armor. Marcus felt like a stain on a white canvas as he limped down the ramp, his uniform torn and bloodied, his left arm in a makeshift sling. Admiral Sorenai waited at the far end, flanked by her senior officers. Up close, she was even more imposing, nearly 7 feet tall, her silver armor etched with battle honors, a curved blade hanging at her hip. The Vaelorians were a warrior species, and their females were the dominant military caste. Sorenai had clawed her way to Admiral through a century of combat. "Your intelligence was accurate," she said without preamble. "The Hegemony ambush has been neutralized. Told you. Do not presume familiarity, human." Her golden eyes swept over him with undisguised disdain. "You are useful. That is not the same as valued." One of her officers, a tall male with ritual scars across his face, stepped forward. "Admiral, surely we cannot trust this creature. Humans are known for deception. All species deceive, Commander Voreth. The question is whether the deception serves us." Sorenai turned back to Marcus. "You will explain how you detected the Hegemony ships." It wasn't a request. Marcus pulled out a battered datapad, neutrino detection array. Standard human equipment. "We developed it because our sensors are inferior to everyone else's, so we had to find alternative methods. Inferior technology led to superior detection." Voreth scoffed. "Absurd. Not inferior. Different." Marcus pulled up a schematic. "Your sensors are designed to detect energy signatures, mass displacement, radiation. All active emissions. But a ship running cold doesn't emit any of that. What it does emit is neutrinos from its reactor's passive decay. Tiny amounts, almost undetectable." "We are aware of neutrino emissions," Sorenai said. "They are too faint to track reliably. For a single sensor, yes. But humans don't use single sensors." Marcus expanded the schematic. "We network everything. Every ship, every probe, every satellite. Thousands of detection points sharing data in real time, building a composite picture. Alone, each sensor is useless. Together, they see everything." The Vaelorian officers exchanged glances. Sorenai's expression remained unreadable. "You are suggesting," she said slowly, "that human weakness forced you to develop a capability we lack." "I'm suggesting that there's more than one way to fight a war, Admiral." Sorenai studied him for a long moment. "The Hegemony has been raiding our supply convoys for months. We cannot catch them. They strike and vanish before we can respond, because they're using the same cold-running tactics. And your doctrine doesn't account for it. Our doctrine has conquered half the galaxy, and it's failing now." Marcus met her golden eyes without flinching. "You need a new approach. I can give you one." Commander Voreth's hand moved to his blade. "You dare. Enough." Sorenai's voice cut like a whip. "The human speaks truth, however unpleasant." She stepped closer to Marcus, close enough that he could see the intricate patterns in her silver markings. "You propose an alliance? I propose a trade. My detection methods and tactical expertise for safe passage for my crew and ship. Your ship is barely functional. Then repair it. You've got the facilities." Sorenai's lips twitched, almost a smile. "You negotiate like a Vaelorian, human. Wounded, outnumbered, and still demanding terms. I negotiate like someone with something you need." The Admiral circled him slowly, predator assessing prey. "What is your name, human?" "Commander Marcus Cole, ESV Defiant. Commander Cole." She tasted the words. "Very well. You will have your repairs. In exchange, you will assist in hunting the Hegemony raiders. When they are destroyed, you may leave. And my crew will be treated as guests." The word seemed to cost her something, not prisoners. Marcus nodded. "Then, we have a deal, Admiral." Sorenai extended her hand, a human gesture, he realized. She'd studied them. "Do not make me regret this, Commander. I have killed for lesser insults than a broken agreement." Marcus took her hand. Her grip was like iron, her skin surprisingly warm. "I don't break agreements, Admiral. It's not the human way. We shall see." She released him and turned to her officers. "Prepare quarters for the human crew. And Commander Voreth, assign a security detail to Commander Cole. For his protection." The emphasis on the last word made clear it was anything but. As the officers dispersed, Sorenai paused at the door. "One more thing, Commander Cole. Admiral, the threat to hang you still stands. Prove your worth, or prove my initial judgment correct." Those golden eyes gleamed. "I rarely offer second chances. Do not waste this one." She swept out, leaving Marcus alone in the shuttle bay with 6 armed guards, and the distinct feeling that he'd just made a deal with a very elegant devil. 3 weeks into the hunt, and Marcus had learned several things about Admiral Kira'veth Sorenai. She slept 4 hours a night. She trained with her blade for 2 hours every morning. She read battle reports while eating, tactical analyses while walking, and intelligence briefings while everyone else was asleep. She demanded perfection from her officers, and punished failure with a coldness that made execution seem merciful. And she was losing. Another convoy hit. Commander Vorath reported, his voice tight with barely suppressed fury. 12 transport ships. 8 destroyed. 4 captured. 600 crew dead or missing. The war room fell silent. Marcus stood at the edge, technically present but clearly unwelcome. The Vaelorian officers had tolerated his presence for 3 weeks, but tolerance was not acceptance. The neutrino detection network, Sorenai asked. Detected the raiders too late. They were already in attack position when we identified them. Then the humans' methods are useless. Vorath shot Marcus a venomous look. As I predicted, the methods aren't useless, Marcus said quietly. The implementation is wrong. Every eye in the room turned to him. Vorath's hand moved to his blade. Explain, Sorenai commanded. Marcus stepped forward to the holographic display. You're using the detection network defensively, waiting for the enemy to come to you, then trying to respond. But the network's strength isn't reaction, it's prediction. He manipulated the display, pulling up convoy routes and attack locations. Look at the pattern. The Hegemony isn't striking randomly. They're hitting convoys at specific points, locations where your patrol coverage is weakest, where response times are longest. We are aware of this, Vorath snapped. We have reinforced those positions, and they've adapted. Because you're thinking like Vaelorians. Marcus highlighted a cluster of attacks. You reinforce weakness with strength. More ships, more firepower. But the Hegemony doesn't care about your strength. They care about information. Sorenai leaned forward. Continue. They have a spy network. Someone is feeding them your patrol schedules, convoy routes, response protocols. Every time you adapt, they adapt faster because they know what you're going to do before you do it. The room erupted. Officers shouted denials, accusations, demands for proof. Vorath drew his blade halfway before Sorenai's raised hand froze him in place. You accuse the Imperial Navy of harboring traitors, she said, her voice dangerously soft. I accuse the Imperial Navy of having a leak. It's not the same thing. Marcus met her gaze steadily. Every military has leaks. The question is whether you find them before they cost you the war. And you can find this leak? I can set a trap. But you won't like how. Sorenai's golden eyes narrowed. Speak. We feed false information through your command structure. Different routes, different schedules to different officers. When the Hegemony strikes, we'll know which information they received and who had access to it. You want me to deceive my own officers. I want you to win. The silence stretched. Marcus could feel the hostility radiating from the Vaelorian officers, the weight of their contempt pressing against him. He was an outsider, a human, suggesting that their precious honor had been compromised. Admiral, Vorath said carefully, this is an insult to every officer in this fleet. We cannot continue losing. Sorenai's voice was quiet but absolute. Commander Cole's plan will proceed. Admiral. That is my decision, Commander Vorath. She turned to Marcus. You will coordinate with my intelligence division. If your trap fails, the consequences will be significant. And if it succeeds? Something flickered in those golden eyes. Then perhaps humans are more than vermin after all. The trap took 2 weeks to set. Marcus worked 18-hour days, coordinating with Vaelorian intelligence officers who regarded him with suspicion at best and open hostility at worst. He ate alone, slept in guarded quarters, and spent every waking moment aware that one wrong move would end with his body floating in space. But slowly, grudgingly, things began to change. Lieutenant Kira, no relation to the Admiral she'd informed him icily, was the first to thaw. A sensor specialist, she'd initially dismissed his detection methods as primitive. But after he showed her how to optimize the network for predictive analysis, her contempt shifted to curiosity. Your species thinks differently, she admitted one night, reviewing data streams. We see patterns and extrapolate. You see connections. Relationships between things that seem unrelated. Survival mechanism, Marcus said. When you're the weakest species in the galaxy, you learn to see threats everywhere, even where they don't exist. That sounds exhausting. It is. But it keeps us alive. Lieutenant Kira was silent for a moment. The Admiral speaks of you. Marcus looked up. What does she say? That you are irritating, presumptuous, and entirely too confident for a creature she could kill with one hand. Kira's lips twitched. She also says you may be the most interesting enemy she has ever faced. I'm not her enemy. No, that is what makes you interesting. The trap sprung on a Tuesday. Marcus was in the war room when the alert came. Hegemony raiders detected on approach to convoy Theta 7. The convoy that only 3 officers knew about. The convoy that didn't actually exist. Contact confirmed, Lieutenant Kira reported. 8 Hegemony vessels. Attack formation. Sorenai stood at the command display, her face carved from stone. Launch the response fleet. All ships to intercept coordinates. Admiral. Vorath stepped forward, his expression troubled. The convoy route was classified as senior staff only. If the human's theory is correct, then we will know soon enough. Sorenai's golden eyes found Marcus across the room. Commander Cole. You are certain of your analysis? The information was compartmentalized to 3 officers, Admiral. Only one of them had access to all the details the Hegemony is acting on. And that officer is? Marcus hesitated. This was the moment. The accusation that would either prove his worth or seal his death. Commander Vorath. The war room exploded into chaos. Vorath drew his blade, lunging toward Marcus with murder in his eyes. Guards moved to intercept. Officers shouted, and through it all, Admiral Sorenai stood motionless, watching. Enough. Her voice cut through the noise like a plasma lance. Everyone froze. Commander Vorath, you will surrender your blade and submit to questioning. Admiral, this is absurd. The human lies. The human provided evidence. You provided denials. Sorenai stepped forward, and Marcus saw something in her eyes he hadn't seen before. Pain. I trusted you, Vorath. For 60 years I trusted you. And I served faithfully. This creature identified a pattern that our entire intelligence division missed. This creature risked his life to help us when he could have simply fled. Sorenai's voice dropped to barely a whisper. This creature has shown more loyalty to my fleet in 3 weeks than you have shown in 60 years. Vorath's face contorted with rage. The Hegemony offered me what the Empire never would. Recognition. Respect. A future beyond being your shadow. And for that, you killed 600 of our people. They were acceptable losses for. Sorenai moved faster than Marcus could track. One moment she was standing still. The next her blade was buried in Vorath's chest. There are no acceptable losses, she said quietly. Only failures of leadership. Vorath crumpled. Sorenai withdrew her blade, cleaned it methodically, and sheathed it without looking at the body. Remove him. Notify his family that he died with honor. She turned to her officers. We will not speak of his treachery. The shame is mine to bear. Admiral, Marcus started. Not now, Commander Cole. Her voice was steady, but he could see the tremor in her hands. We have a battle to win. She strode to the command display, and the admiral who had threatened to hang him became once again the blade of the Empress, directing her fleet with cold precision. But Marcus had seen behind the mask, and he understood, perhaps for the first time, the weight she carried. The Battle of Kepler's Reach would later be recorded as the turning point of the Periphery Wars. But for Marcus Cole, it was simply the longest night of his life. Hegemony main fleet detected. 47 capital ships, over 200 support vessels. Admiral Sorenai stood at the center of her bridge, surrounded by holographic displays showing the approaching armada. The Vaelorian fleet, 23 ships, including the newly repaired Defiant, was outnumbered nearly 10-1. They're committing everything, Marcus said from his position at the auxiliary tactical station. Vorath must have told them about the detection network. They know we can see them coming, so they're not bothering to hide. A final gambit. Sorenai's voice was calm, almost contemplative. Destroy our fleet here, and the entire sector falls. We can't win a straight fight? No? She turned to face him, and for a moment, the Admiral was gone. In her place stood a woman who had fought for a century, who had lost friends and lovers, and pieces of herself on 100 battlefields. But we can make them pay for every inch. There's another option. Sorenai raised an eyebrow. Marcus pulled up a tactical display. The Hegemony fleet is configured for a standard engagement, line formation, overlapping fields of fire, mutual support. It's textbook, as is ours, exactly. They expect us to fight like Vaelorians. Honor-bound, direct, predictable. Marcus highlighted a section of the display. But what if we don't? Explain. The asteroid field on our flank. It's too dense for capital ships, but not for smaller vessels. If we split our fleet, send the heavy units to engage directly while our destroyers and frigates loop through the asteroids, we can hit their rear echelon while they're focused on the main battle. A flanking maneuver. Sorenai frowned. It violates every principle of Vaelorian warfare. We do not hide. We do not strike from shadows. No. But humans do. Marcus met her eyes. You asked me to prove human worth, Admiral. This is how we fight. Not with honor. Not with glory. With whatever works. The bridge was silent. Every Vaelorian officer watched their admiral, waiting for her decision. Sorenai was quiet for a long moment. Then slowly she smiled. A real smile. Not the predatory expression Marcus had seen before. Commander Cole, you continue to surprise me. Is that a yes? It is an acknowledgement that perhaps I was wrong about your species. She turned to her officers. Implement Commander Cole's plan. Destroyer squadrons will follow the humans' tactical direction. Capital ships will engage the enemy main body. Admiral, one of the officers said hesitantly, if the flanking force is detected, then they will die with honor, having attempted something no Vaelorian has tried in 300 years. And true. Sorenai's golden eyes gleamed. Sometimes, the old ways must yield to new necessities. She looked at Marcus. You will command the flanking force. Me? You designed the tactic. You will execute it. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. And, Commander, do not die. I find I am not yet finished being surprised by you. Before Marcus could respond, she turned away, issuing orders with crisp efficiency. But he'd seen something in her eyes, something that went beyond military respect. He filed it away for later. Assuming there was a later. The asteroid field was a nightmare of spinning rocks, radiation pockets, and sensor shadows. Marcus guided the flanking force through it with the Defiant at the lead, his crew working in perfect synchronization with the Vaelorian destroyers behind him. Hegemony rear echelon in sight, Ensign Park reported. Supply ships, command vessels, and, sir, that's their flagship. Marcus studied the display. The Hegemony Supreme Commander's dreadnought sat at the center of the formation, protected by a ring of cruisers. It was the brain of the enemy fleet. Destroy it, and the entire armada would fall into chaos. All ships, attack pattern Delta. Target the flagship's engines first, then weapon systems. He opened a channel to the Vaelorian destroyer captains. This is Commander Cole. We get one shot at this. Make it count. The response came back in Vaelorian, a battle cry that needed no translation. They burst from the asteroid field like wolves from the forest, weapons blazing. The Hegemony rear echelon, focused entirely on the main battle ahead, never saw them coming. The first cruiser died before it could raise shields. The second managed a single salvo before 3 destroyers tore it apart. The supply ships scattered, their civilian crews panicking as warships appeared from nowhere. And then they reached the flagship. All weapons, concentrate fire on the engine section. The Defiant's guns spoke, joined by a dozen Vaelorian destroyers. The flagship's shields flared, held, then began to buckle under the sustained assault. They're launching fighters. Ignore them. Keep firing on the flagship. The battle became a blur of fire and metal. Marcus felt the Defiant shudder as enemy rounds found their mark, heard damage reports flooding in from every section. Around him, Vaelorian destroyers died. But they died fighting, pouring fire into the enemy flagship until their last breath. Engine section critical. She's losing power. Finish it. The final salvo struck home. The Hegemony flagship's engines detonated, the explosion rippling through the massive vessel. Secondary explosions followed. Then tertiary, until the entire ship was consumed in a cascading inferno. Flagship destroyed. On the main battlefield, the effect was immediate. The Hegemony fleet, suddenly leaderless, began to fragment. Ships broke formation, some fleeing, others fighting on without coordination. Admiral Sorenai's forces pressed the advantage, turning an orderly battle into a rout. Commander Cole. Sorenai's voice came through the comm, and Marcus could hear something he'd never heard from her before. Joy. You magnificent, impossible human. You actually did it. We did it, Admiral. Together. Yes. A pause. Together. Return to the fleet, Commander. We have a victory to celebrate. The celebration lasted 3 days. Marcus spent most of it in the medical bay, having his wounds treated and his broken ribs regenerated. But on the 3rd night, Admiral Sorenai came to see him. She was out of armor for the first time since he'd met her, wearing simple robes that made her look almost ordinary. Almost. Commander Cole. Admiral. She sat beside his bed, her golden eyes studying him with an expression he couldn't read. The Empress has been informed of your contribution. She wishes to extend her gratitude. That's unexpected. As were you. Sorenai was quiet for a moment. I owe you an apology, Commander. When we first met, I saw only a human, a lesser species, unworthy of respect. I was wrong. You were protecting your people. I understand. No data. I was blinded by pride. She reached out, her fingers brushing his hand. You showed me that strength comes in many forms. That honor is not the only path to victory. That sometimes, the greatest warriors are those who fight not for glory, but for survival. Marcus turned his hand, clasping hers. Her skin was warm, her grip gentle, so different from the iron handshake of their first meeting. "What happens now?" he asked. "Now, you return to your people. The war continues, but the hegemony is broken. They will not threaten this sector again." She paused. Unless you choose to stay." Her golden eyes met his. "The Empress has authorized me to offer you a commission in the Imperial Navy, a position on my staff, a chance to continue what we started." Marcus stared at her. "You want me to serve under you? I want you to serve beside me." Sorenai's lips curved into a smile. Warm, genuine, nothing like the predatory expression he'd first seen. "I find that I have grown accustomed to your presence, Commander. Your insights, your irritating confidence, your refusal to accept the impossible. That sounds almost like affection, Admiral." "Perhaps it is." She squeezed his hand. "I am not skilled at such things. Vaelorian warriors do not form attachments easily. But you have earned something from me that I have given to very few." "And what's that?" "Trust." She stood but didn't release his hand. "Think on my offer, Commander Cole. Whatever you decide, know that you will always have a place in my fleet." She leaned down, and for a moment, Marcus thought she might kiss him. Instead, she pressed her forehead to his. A Vaelorian gesture, he realized. Intimate. Sacred. "Until we meet again, Marcus Cole." She left without another word. Marcus lay in the darkness, thinking about everything that had happened. The battle, the betrayal, the impossible victory. And the Admiral who had sworn to hang him, now offering him a place at her side. He thought about Earth, about the life he'd left behind, about duty and honor, and all the things he'd been taught to value. Then he thought about golden eyes and warm hands, and the smile that had taken 3 weeks to earn. The next morning, he gave Sorenai his answer. 6 months later, the combined human Vaelorian fleet emerged from fold space above the Hegemony homeworld. At its head flew the Sci-Fİ Defiant, now bearing both human and Vaelorian colors. On the bridge, Commander Marcus Cole stood beside Admiral Kira'veth Sorenai, watching the enemy world grow larger in the view screen. "They're hailing us," Lieutenant Kira reported, "demanding our surrender." Sorenai glanced at Marcus, a smile playing at her lips. "Shall I respond, or would you like the honor?" "Together," Marcus said. "Like everything else." They stepped forward as one, facing the view screen as the Hegemony Supreme Council appeared. "This is Admiral Kira'veth Sorenai, of the Vaelorian Imperial Navy, and Commander Marcus Cole of the United Earth Forces," Sorenai announced. "You have 1 hour to surrender unconditionally. Refuse, and we will demonstrate what happens when humans and Vaelorians fight as one." The transmission ended. Marcus felt Sorenai's hand find his, their fingers intertwining. "Whatever happens next," she said quietly, "I am glad you stayed. So am I." Outside, the fleet moved into attack formation. Human ships and Vaelorian vessels flying together under a shared banner. An alliance forged in fire, tempered by respect, and strengthened by something neither species had expected to find. The war wasn't over. It might never be over. But for the first time in a very long time, Marcus Cole wasn't fighting alone. And neither was she. YouTube description, 1,000 characters. A Vaelorian Admiral threatened to hang Marcus Cole from his own mast. 3 weeks later, she's taking orders from him. When the human destroyer Defiant blunders into Vaelorian space mid-ambush, Admiral Kira'veth Sorenai treats Marcus like vermin until he proves her sensors are blind to cold-running hegemony hunters. Forced into a brutal, temporary alliance, Marcus introduces a human doctrine the Vaelorians hate: networked neutrino tracking, misinformation traps, and winning by prediction, not pride. Then the real betrayal hits. The leak is inside her bridge staff. With the traitor dead, the hegemony commits its full armada. 10-to-1 odds. Vaelorian honor demands a straight fight. Marcus proposes something worse: vanish into an asteroid field, strike the rear, and decapitate the flagship. The plan works. The enemy collapses. And the admiral who swore to hang him learns a new truth. Strength isn't tradition, it's its adaptation. HFI military sci-fi about earning respect from your enemy, then watching her choose to sail under your flag. Keywords: HFI, HFI Sci-Fİ, military Sci-Fİ, space fleet battle, alien admiral, human commander, neutrino detection, cold-running ships, spy in the ranks, misinformation trap, asteroid ambush, flagship destroyed, enemies to allies, alliance. Fleet, space opera, tactical sci-fi. Humanity, fuck yeah.